Hello world. In our last video we started going over our hunger system. We're going to continue on with that, but really quick, I figured out some of the formulas that I wanted to kind of use that we got from the Isle. I pulled these off of the wiki for the Omniraptor. We're playing a Utah Raptor in ours. You can, make it whatever you want. But I'm gonna go off of those stats. I don't know if they're still up to date or whatever, but using those, I kind of figured out the formulas as far as I can tell for what I believe would be used to calculate things like the growth cycle, weight gain, hunger, stuff like that, kind of automatically as it goes. So I'm going to show you that really quick. So if we go into our master character class here, first let's go to our grow timer here, and we're going to set that to 0.1 for every second, or every 0.1 second. Now you would, if you wanted to do it fully like the Isle, instead of 0.1, make it 1. We are reducing that by a multiplier of 10 because otherwise it's going to take me 10 years to show you how this works. But if you wanted to actually replicate the system in the Isle, you would change the time to a 1 for 1 second. The rest of this stays the same. And we're going to go into our grow function here. So this guy right there. You'll notice I made some changes. So we're still getting the world scale, we're still, setting that, making sure that, okay, is it equal to our max size? If it is, don't grow. If it's not, if we're smaller than our max size, keep growing. But we have this formula here, alright, and this is going to be our scale formula. And I got this kind of based on looking at how things work from the size of baby to adult, and then the timer it takes. For the Isle. So what we're going to do, we're going to have a variable for our time to adult. For the Omniraptor, it's 75 minutes, right? Our baby size is going to be, for the Raptor, I'll show you over here, I'll kind of clean this up a bit. Baby size is 0.25, max size is 1. And then over here, I've set the stages by weight. So our stages, again, I checked this off of the wiki for the Isle. And this is the weight it takes to reach certain stages. So for Juvie, 126 kilos. For subadult, 306.25 kilos. And for adult, it's 450, but we want to have a little smidge of room. So we're going to set it to 445, and he'll keep growing a tiny bit after that. The base hunger drain rate, we're going to get to that a bit more. I basically did some math and figured out that it's about 2.2 per minute. Or 0.036 per second. So don't worry about this part. We're going to get to that later. And honestly, describing the math on this, I'm not going to go over it in huge detail. If you guys want to talk about that or go further into it, we can probably do that in the comments. So back in our master character, we are getting the max size. We're subtracting the baby size here because we want to scale him up, and we want to go smoothly, so we need to ensure that we're taking the current size we have, because we're not starting at 0, we're starting at 0.25, so we want to subtract that from there. And then we are dividing that by the time it takes to reach adulthood. Then we're taking that number, because this is going to be our per minute. So this, basically max size minus baby size, divided by time to adulthood, 75 minutes, divided again by 60 to break that into seconds. So this is the minutes. We're just dividing it into 60, and that is going to be how much. That'll return how much we're going to be scaling per tick per second. Mind you, this is per second. So if you wanted to do it per 5 seconds, then you would change this divisor so that it was, something like that. But, or if you wanted to, I don't know, if you're crazy and you wanted to tick it once per minute, you would just remove this altogether. But so there's that. Then back over here, we don't need the scale anymore. We're just going to go, is our current weight greater than the stage that we're at? Is it greater or equal to the stage that we need to be at, rather, for the next stage? So we took away that scalar thing because we don't need to check that anymore. We're just checking the stage. Basically, are we heavy enough to reach the next stage? That's all this is. Same thing over here. Stage 2, Stage 3, Stage 4. Are we heavy enough to reach the next stage? That stage being whatever the weight is needed to be of that age. And again, this is going off of the Isle Wiki. I tested it out. It perfectly matches up with the growth cycle for the IL, like perfectly using those stats. So I think this is a formula they're using. I'm pretty sure it is. If it's not, it's very, very, very close. So make sure you make these changes in here, and this is going to automate it so that we don't have to put any hard numbers in. Again, we're only putting the hard numbers into the actual character class for the creature itself. That's it. So this is all we got to put in, and we can just customize it however we like. So we've got these formulas in here. Then let's go back to our update stats, and we're going to add a couple of things here. So we had this already here, where we were adjusting morph targets. But another thing that we're going to do is we're going to adjust our weight. So again, we are using the formula. I'm pretty sure this is the formula for the IL that they use the same thing. I might be off. It might be slightly different. But the return is 100%, from everything I can tell, the exact same as based on the wiki growth. I don't know if there's been changes since. God knows there's going to be changes after this. But this is what we're doing. I personally think this is a little slow, but the cool thing is that you, just like with the Raptor here, you can really change how long you want it to take. So if you want them to, for example, the, let's see, for the growth, if you want the time to adult, if you want to change that to something else, you can. And it basically is just going to determine how long it's going to take them to grow to adult. So here I would do time to adult. This is again in our Raptor. We're going to set that. And we'll probably put it kind of over here by its own thing. And we're just going to call that 75 for 75 minutes. Because this is going to be in minutes, because we're already going to divide that down to seconds. Okay. Alright, so there's that. Got that figured out. Save that. Go back over here. We've got that formula in. So we're getting whatever our max weight is. So for the Raptor, the Omniraptor, it's 450. The time to adult, again, is 75 minutes. So we take the max weight, if we divide that by the time to adulthood, that gives us the amount of weight we're increasing per minute. Again, we want to divide that by 60 because we're ticking this off every second, so we want to divide it by 60. And we're getting our current weight that we're at, and we're just adding whatever that feeds back to us. So this formula right here is basically going to feed the amount that we need to increase per tick. We're just adding that onto our current weight. And we're saying, if we are not yet our max weight, go ahead and increase it. Okay, so I'm pretty sure this is the formula they're using. Like I said, it might be off, it might be outdated, but it's what I found on the wiki as far as these numbers go, and it lines up perfectly if we run it this way. So the next thing we're going to do is hunger, because we need to be able to adjust our hunger. So we've got our hunger drain right here. And this is just a default, don't worry about this. We're going to set it here. And this drain rate is automatically going to be determined by our weight and all those things. So if we get our base hunger drain right here. So our base hunger drain, again, I did the math for this, okay? Like, we can go over this, but we can we'll do it in the comments if you really want to know about whatever. I found out that the base drain rate for a Raptor, so this is species dependent. The base drain rate for a Raptor is 0.036. That's per second. And this is, I mean, it might differ per species, whatever. So we take the base drain, that number, and we are adding, we take our current weight divided by 100. So we take our current weight, say it's, 20 kilos, we divide it by 100, that's 2. So we are increasing that. We're taking that, we are increasing with our base rate, and then we are, so this times -1 here basically just means we're inverting it to a negative, and I'll show you why. Because we need this to be a minus, a subtraction, right? A negative. A negative is basically, it's a subtraction here. We're setting hunger drain rate here. So our base drain plus all this sets our hunger drain rate. And the reason why, if we go into, let's see, we go back into our event graph here. So again, this is set to 0.1. You would set this to 1 if you want to mimic the Isle's actual timeline as far as the wiki goes. But, and sorry, if you hear noise in the background, that's my washing machine. I'm an old lady. I live in a house and I'm doing my laundry, so just bear with it. So, okay. I got update stamina. Now we've added another one. So this one's a little different. You notice these say set timer by function name, right? This one says set timer by event. There's a reason why. So again, set timer by event. You just want to do set timer by event. Click that. Okay, and then here, you just grab from event, drag out, and do create event. And then we're gonna actually create this, so don't worry about that for a sec. Just set that to 1. You know, 1 second. It's gonna every 1 second it's gonna do it. Looping. We're gonna do a start delay just in case. Again, you want to pull out promote to variable and name that hunger timer. I'm probably going through this a little too fast. I'll slow down. Sorry about that. I'm new to videos, guys. Okay, so I have a new thing over here. So to do this, this is the event we're gonna call. An event is kind of like a function, but it's a little more meaty. You don't usually want to have a lot of events in your graph because it can get overpopulated fast. You want to try and use functions if you can. But because this will give us access to a few more things like certain delays and stuff, we kind of want to do an event here. So what you can do is right click. You just do custom event. You click that. It'll have a pop-up. You can rename it. If you can't see where you can rename it, you can just go over here and just hit the name there. And then we're gonna add a new function that's gonna pull off of. But first, so you've got this event, then go over here and go to that event right there. Just select it, drain hunger, and so every time this ticks, it's gonna call this event. Now the reason we're not automatically just draining the hunger straight up here using just raw numbers is because we want to have a function that just updates hunger. Either it adds to our hunger, basically it adds to our stomach, it gives us food, or it takes away from our hunger. So it makes us, less full. It's our timer ticking down, whatever. We want it to be something that we can just take this and update it from whatever. So say if in our food item, whenever we take a bite, it triggers something in that food item that says, okay, add this to the player's hunger. It'll just call this function from the player, and it's really easy. Just put a number in there. But this right here is just going to automatically tick to drain our hunger. We've got our hunger drain rate that we calculated from our adjust hunger here in our update stats function. So we're going to feed that in. So you're going to add a new function over here. Just hit the plus sign, call it update hunger. Open that up. And then here you would just create click the button. Create a value, name it whatever, make sure it's a float, and then do this. I could sit here and recreate all of this, but I feel like just having it there and explaining it also kind of gives you more time instead of like, whenever I've done, like back in the day when I used to do YouTube tutorials or I'd look through them or stuff, and especially when I had a lot of friends who were YouTube tutorial guys, a lot of times they'll kind of walk you through every single step, and then they'll be like, okay, do this, and they'll like do each thing as they go through it. But for me, like following that, people are so focused on trying to catch up because they're sitting there and they're, okay, I have to do this, and I gotta do plus, and then I gotta drag this thing over here, and blah blah blah. That there's no time to learn. It's just rushing through it to get through the video. And I want this to actually be a learning process, not a just follow me blindly process. So that said, you're gonna have this function here. This value gets fed in. It's gonna decrease or increase. And if you remember over here, the reason that we over here we had set it to a negative number with this multiply by -1, and the reason why is because this hunger drain rate, when it gets fed into here, it's a -1. And if we take a positive number, which is our current hunger, and we add a negative number, that makes it a it's a subtraction. It's no longer addition. It's this minus whatever this is, or it's this plus whatever this is. So whether that's a negative or positive will determine if we're adding or subtracting. As before, we're going to do a clamp here. If you want to line things up, by the way, select them and hit Q. It's great. It's useful, especially if you're like OCD like me. But yeah, so hunger current, if you don't have that variable, make it. I just have it set to 80 to start with. You could set it to 100, whatever. A hunger max variable, that's going to be 100. And we're going to clamp, as always, between 0 and whatever our max number is to make sure we don't go into some wonky numbers. And then we're just setting the current hunger. So we're taking the current hunger, we're adding whatever that is, this value is coming in, either be it a subtraction or addition. We're clamping it to make sure we don't get weird numbers out of it. And then we're setting the current hunger. That's all it does. Really simple. This kind of formula you're going to do, like, for things that are stats and stuff like that, like HP, stamina, hunger, thirst, you're going to see this kind of formula a lot. This is the basic go-to. Okay? Really, 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 really basic. Okay, so, back in our event graphs, we have update hunger. We've got our drain rate going in. That should be updating our hunger. We've got that variable. We need to check if we're starving. So I do have the function here, and again, just click the function, right, check starving. And right here, we're going to do this part in a minute as soon as we get into our UI. I'll try to get into it in this video. If I can't, it'll be in the next one. I have them currently coming out like every couple days, so they're pretty close together. It's a lot to do at once, and I'm an old lady with a family and a household and a living to make, and I only have so much time. But yeah, so we take our current hunger. We're just saying, is it less than or equal to 0? So basically, do we have anything left in our tummy? And then we're gonna switch our UI around, and we're gonna get to that in a minute. Don't worry about this. Just make sure that you have this function. It doesn't need to have anything in it yet. That's fine. If you want to add this part, that's fine. Whatever, you do you, boo. Okay, so we've got that in there. We're gonna get back to that in a bit. But make sure you comment this. Keep organized. Always keep organized with your code, or it's gonna be angry noodles everywhere, and you're not gonna know what you're looking at. Nobody else will either. Okay. I feel like I'm going through this too fast. If this feels too fast, let me know, and I'll be more careful to slow down or something like that. But yeah, so we've got our hunger timer. Okay, what's next? Yeah, okay, I think that's about it for this stuff. So cool. Looks like we probably have time for the UI. Awesome. So we're gonna go back over here into our viewport. We're gonna go to our content browser here. And in our, so I have, I don't know if you have the UI folder yet. If you don't, add a new folder. Right click, new folder, UI. Again, organization is the game. Open that up. And yeah, yes, we did. We made our UI because we had that. Okay, yeah. You know what? Ignore me. Okay, so we're gonna have our texture folder here. If you don't have that, just go ahead and create a textures folder. Open that up. You want to upload these. So if you got the files that I linked in the previous video, there's a Dropbox. Go in it, download it. It should come with these files. If it doesn't, that's weird, and you should let me know. But it'll come with these files. Download them, import them. If you don't know how to import yet, again, right-click, import. You know, import those files. Just select them, and then open. Once you have these in, we're going to do a couple tweaks to them. And you don't have to use mine. You can make your own system. This is what I'm using. You're welcome to use it. I really don't care. Do whatever you want with it. Just don't sell me my crap, even though I shouldn't expect you to sell these. So open that up, and you just double click it. It's going to bring you in here. So we want to go over here. So the texture group, if it says world or whatever, just change that to UI. UI is less resource intensive and also give us the kind of alpha that we need here. So just make sure you do that with each one of these, that you just double click it, open it, and that you set this to UI. Okay, make sure you do that. I don't think you need to do anything else here. It should be fine. Notice the numbers here, right? 65 by 64. We're going to use that in our UI. So stuff like that, good thing to keep in mind. You don't have to double check it because I'll give you the numbers later. But this right here is basically our actual dimensions, okay? UI, make sure it's all set. And then we're going to go back over here into our UI folder. Excuse me. Open that up. So what you want to do here, we've got our Juby thing here. We got our, baby Juby, whatever stage here. We've got our stamina bar here. And over here, kind of like the Isle, but we're doing our own kind of look here because, this is an educational video, so, like, I'm not trying to make money off of it or whatever, and hopefully they're not going to try and sue me or some nonsense, which, I mean, I don't know, whatever, good luck. So first of all, go in here, type image. You're going to grab an image, you're going to throw it onto here, and you're going to move it down here in the corner. I named it img_stats. It is an image type. It is a variable. Not that that really matters right now. For the image down here, just click that. Type in the actual name of the image. It'll come up with this here. Okay, set it to that. And then over here, so for your anchor, you want to do bottom right. Now the way anchors work in a UI, so the UI will scale depending on the resolution of this monitor. Not everybody has the same resolution. Do not ever assume that your resolution is what other people are saying. I am using two monitors right now that are vastly different resolutions, vastly different. And I need this to scale with whatever resolution people are using. The anchors here, what this will do is basically, even if this resolution is like cut in half, like half of this, or just really wonky resolutions, it's always going to say, well, whatever's happening, just be down here towards this bottom corner. This is where we're going to align. This is our main focus, is down here. I need this object to be basically somewhere down in this bottom corner. Whereas this one, I don't even think we set an anchor. Did we? Yeah, okay, so this one you'll notice it's the top left corner. So it's basically, we want it up here somewhere at least, right? And then, so, really quick, so for position, this, I tend to avoid position because it's a little more fixed. And, so for example, really extreme cases, let's say, I don't know, if somebody somehow is able to play this on an iPad, and it's got cut in half, if I use this position, this would end up, like, way over here off the screen, and they wouldn't even see it. So, I try to not use position. I try to leave that at 0. If you don't have it at 0, then 0 it out. And I use alignment instead, because alignment will adjust to the actual screen that's available. So it'll take whatever percentage of the screen is available, and it'll align with this far from that corner. I found 1.2 and 1.25 work for me. You can do whatever you like. Give it a little space around the edges here, because again, some monitors are funky, or just, who knows. I like to give a little bit of space around these borders here. The size of this image, again, if we pull it up, UI, if we pull it up, the image size is 263 by 195, right? So we want to mimic that here, size X and size Y, 263 by 195, and just make sure that's set. For this, I don't even think this part really makes any difference. It'll kind of, I don't know. I never set this part, even though it's just there, but if you do it here, it doesn't matter. For draw as, make sure it's image, no tiling. You can adjust the tint and the colors and stuff, which I like to do. So if you go over here, you can kind of like adjust the tint to, like, maybe if you want green or purple or whatever. Just kind of try to make sure when you're doing this that, see this blue line, so whenever this bar, this hunger bar here, whenever this bar goes down, it's going to it's going to be all empty inside here, right? So you're not going to, it's just going to be transparent. So all you're going to see is this blue outline here for the border. So you kind of want to make sure that shows. I should probably actually give it some, bring it up a little bit. If it's really bright, kind of be careful, because you can get this white outlining here. This is something we can go over later. This is unfortunately just an issue with Unreal Engine sometimes, that it has these kind of leftover bits, and you'll see that in a lot of games too. Like even in the Isle, if you look at it really carefully, if you like look down at the grass in the Isle, for anything with alpha, you'll see this very vague white outline around the texture. That's where basically the alpha clipping is kind of wonky. This is an Unreal thing. It's not their fault. It's not anybody's fault. Literally everybody has to deal with it. It's obnoxious. There are kind of workarounds, but the problem with some of those workarounds is that they can get a little resource intensive for something so small as a couple white pixels. But if you're super fixated on it, we can do a thing kind of going over cleaning that up later. But remember that once we scale out, our actual screen size is going to be like this. This is what you're going to see. You're not going to be zoomed in like this. So keep that in mind. That looks good for me. I think I could see it pretty clearly. And then, so yeah, that's the base image here. And then, so the next thing we're gonna do actually is we're gonna add the widget switcher here. So type in switcher. I can type. Type in switcher. Grab that. You want to drag that just wherever onto it, onto the thing here. And then for your widget switcher, don't mind these things in here yet. So you're gonna have your widget switcher. Name it to hunger widget switcher. Make sure it's a variable. Make sure that you have your anchor bottom right. Again, let's clear that position out because we don't want that. The size for this is going to be 65 by 64. And alignment for me, it kind of fits nice and evenly in this box at about 2.3 and 3.33. For Z order, now Z order is important. So Z order basically means kind of the layering of like, so we've got this background image. We don't want, obviously we don't want the background image to be on top of other stuff. It's a background image. So the Z order for this is going to be 0, which means it's the first thing that's rendered, right? And that will ensure that everything else renders on top of it. But we need to make sure their Z order is higher. So the actual switcher, the Z order for this, because we're going to have our hunger bar too. So the Z order for the switcher is going to be 2. Okay? That way it's going to be the very, very top, because that's going to have the border here. It's going to have the border for this stomach, and we need to make sure that's also on top of our hunger bar. Alright, so make sure you have that set. We're going to put these inside of it, but really quick, let's throw in the hunger bar. We'll get back to that in a minute. I'm going to get a progress bar. You're going to grab that, throw it on here. Make sure that you name it hunger bar. Make sure it's a variable. Set the anchor again to bottom right. Clear position. 0 that out. The hunger bar, we want it to be the same thing as the switcher and the images that are in it. So it's going to be 65 by 64. It's going to be, again, alignment of 2.3 by 3.33. And the Z order is 1. So the first thing that gets rendered is the background, then the hunger bar, then the border. For the hunger bar, you can make some adjustments to tint and stuff like that if you want. For the fill, for draw as, we want to set it to image. Again, just go in here, UI, hunger, fill, or whatever image you're using, set it to that. That's, I think, so okay, so down here you want to click on that, create a binding. We'll mess with that in a minute. Just make sure you create the binding for the percent, because we're binding that to our hunger, whatever our hunger is. It's just going to update based on that. Bar fill type, we want bottom to top. Make sure that it's like that. Make sure you have it masked, all that, and then set your fill opacity to whatever color you want. Up to you. I like the kind of blue shade there. And yeah, that's all you need for that part. You gotta make sure it's, variable and all that. Okay. So let's go back to our widget switcher. A widget switcher, it has a list of indexes. So everything in this switcher, it has an index. Okay? And it's going to switch that index based on whatever we tell it to. And so that we can kind of toggle between different items in this widget switcher. And they're just going to stay within that location. And it's just nice and easy to control. So the first one you're going to add is going to be a border. Okay. So go over here. Type in border. Oops. Grab that and drag it into the widget switcher. Not outside. Make sure it's nested like this. So grab that and drag it into, see how it highlights as a box, not above it, but you want it to highlight as a box, or if you can underneath it there. Alright, make sure you do it like that. Name it border hunger. You don't necessarily need to set it as a variable. Again, for the image, just get that image, the hunger border, make sure it's the blue border. We don't got to worry about setting the location because the location is already set by the switcher that it's nested in, so it's kind of a cool thing that comes with that. Yeah, image size, make sure it's draw as image. Brush color, if you want to, change the color, we already went over that. So yeah. You can right click this because you want to save a little bit of this, so right click it and just do duplicate. That'll give you another one that just change the name of it to border hunger red. So when we're starving, right, when we're starving, we want it to show. So we're going to switch it over into this red, like kind of angry looking hurt stomach image thing to show that we are in fact starving. For the, all this stuff should be the same because we haven't changed it. It's just a duplicate of the other one. But if you want to change the color, you can change the color, tinker around with it, stuff like that. Go to town, you do you. And then that should be our hunger stuff here. Okay. So with that on there, let's go into the graph for that UI. So this is our stamina. We already did this. Now, what we're going to do is, and we can do this with the stamina too, actually, if you don't want to use this default 100% thing. For the hunger bar, it's basically the same thing, but instead we're doing a percentage, okay? So, again, we're getting our character. Instead of a cast here, later on we can use our interface, and that'll maybe help a little bit on resource pull, but this is going to be really minimal right now, so it's not really a problem. Same thing as over here. You get the owning player, get cast to the character main class, and then from here you're going to pull out and you're going to get your hunger current and your hunger max. We have something in Unreal where we can just automatically get the percent of something, so all you got to do is type in percent as not that one, whoops, percent right there. And this is basically allowing us to get, let me pull that up. We want to get from our max percent, right? From our max percent, we want to get our current. Or rather, from our max, we want to get the current as a percent, rather. So we're getting the percentage for that. And again, since the value for a progress bar is going to be 0 to 1, and this is going to give us out of 100%, we need to divide it by 100 to return that 0 to 1. So grab that and just plug it in afterward. Make sure you divide that. You can just do it like that. Divide that by 100, plug it in, and that'll automatically fill up that bar based on wherever our actual hunger is. So we've got that. We've got that in there. We've got our hunger, our stamina plugged in. So let's go back to, we don't need that open anymore. Let's go back into our main character class here. Because remember, we wanted to check if we're starving, right? We didn't finish that up here. So again, take your current hunger. If it is less than or equal to 0, which means we have no food in our tummy, we want to change that widget switcher. Remember that widget switcher we just made in our UI? That's this guy. So we have two indexes. We have the index here, which is 0, the first one. That's our default. And then our index of 1. So keep this order matters. Your 0 index is going to be the first one that shows up, and that's going to be the blue one, our default. Index 1 is going to be our red. So if we get our controller reference here, okay, you just grab that out, get that. We would get our UI from that because we built that into our controller. Then get hunger. Get your hunger widget switcher. So the reason we can get this switcher is because it's a variable. If we did not have that switcher marked as a variable up here, if we did not have it marked as a variable, we wouldn't be able to access it. That's why that's important to make sure that things that you want to access from the UI, you need to make sure you mark them as a variable. So get that, and then you just drag off to set active widget index right there. And what this is doing is, so if our hunger is less than or equal to 0, if we're hungry and we're starving to death, we are setting that switcher index to 1, which remember is our red stomach. If we have food in our belly, then it's going to give us a false. We're going to set it to the default of 0. Okay? So every time our hunger ticks, it's going to tick, it's going to bring down that hunger a little bit, and then it's going to check, are we starving? As well, actually, we want this to check every time we're updating our hunger as a whole. So you know what? Let's do a quick change real quick. So this check if starving, we actually need to do this every time update hunger happens. But we don't have it plugged into update hunger. So let's go ahead and move that. Let's just grab our check starving. And again, this is why having all these functions kind of broken up like this is so great. We can just drag it and drop it here. Let's do check starving here. And let's go back to our event graph, and we'll take it out of our drain hunger, because we need to always check even if we're not draining, because if we just ate, we were starving. If we're not starving anymore, we need to update that widget switcher, right? Okay, so that will be better. Thinking on the go. Cool. So I think we have everything ready. We've got our UI plugged in. We've got all of our growth cycle stuff automated. It's now mimicking just like the aisle. We're going to up it a notch, so when we test this out, it would be having that growth cycle tick every second. It's not going to tick every second. It's going to tick every 0.1 seconds. So basically 10 times the speed. Because this thing, the growth cycle is really slow. Okay. Alright, we have our hunger ticking every 1 second. If we wanted, we can increase or decrease that. But every 1 second works for me. And yeah, I think that's all we need right now. So let's give it a test. Oh, and really quick, let's do something actually. So let's go back to our objects here. Remember our interactive objects? Let's take this. So I got rid of the old carcass because we don't need that right now. Let's open up this the base carcass here, and let's change the mesh on that to something a little more interesting. Let's actually change it. I don't think, because the raptor mesh itself is technically, it's a skeletal mesh. So let's add. I don't recommend doing this part, but I'm gonna make it just. I'm gonna do it just to make it look cool. We want to keep a static mesh. I'm gonna add skeletal, but I will give you guys some static mesh carcasses later to work with. I'm just doing this to show off, to make it look a little bit cooler than a box, right? Okay. So I'm gonna take my static mesh here. I'm gonna clear that. Again, don't copy me right now. I am 100%. Just doing this to kind of make it look cooler. Don't copy me. Alright, so let's change that to 90. Cool. It's a dead guy. Okay. Give me just a sec here. Bring that up a little bit. I should bring that up a little bit. There we go. Okay. Again, I'll make some static mesh food stuff, so don't do that unless you have your own. That's fine, but you know, whatever works. We're gonna drag that there. Okay, so now you can see the collision around the carcass, and then the carcass itself is laying on the ground. Yeah, it's not much cooler, but we're trying. Whatever. Alright, so now from there, we are going to go ahead and give it a test. Once this is all working, we probably won't be able to fit it into this video, but in our final video for hunger, we are going to, in this carcass item class, we're going to add some variables like food and stuff so that we can actually increase our hunger when we eat. But right now, let's just check the UI, and we'll probably do that in the next video. Okay. Alright, so here's our baby. He's running around, and if you look at the bottom right there, his food's ticking down. He's a bit hungry. It's ticking nice and slowly, but just give it a second. You'll see it kind of slowly working its way down. There it goes. You can see it's slowly going down. We probably could have sped it up a bit. But yeah, his food's ticking down. And I am on the move and I'm looking for food. So we've added our food animation. Oh my goodness. Look, a dead body. Oh my gosh, what do I do? Can I... Well, if I eat from here, it doesn't work. Maybe if I go and stick my face in it, I can eat it. Oh yes, it's delicious. I'm cannibal. I'm eating my own kin. So, yeah, again, we're gonna add, like, meat things. We'll spawn, like, a little meat chunk in his mouth when he eats and do all that good stuff, but... There you go, so it's recognizing that as a food item, and you can see my hunger tick down. I'm obviously not filling my tummy because we don't have that plugged in yet, but once we do, it'll go back up, and we're going to use that update hunger function. So let's give this just a second to tick down. I probably again should have sped it up, but I want you to see as it goes into the red, and he'll be starving. And what we're going to do, so in the next video, what we're probably going to do is we're going to clean up the hunger a little bit more. I'm going to keep updating the Raptor. You can keep checking that Dropbox folder just for whatever updates. If I say to, add this new thing, it's going to be in there. If the series is already well on its way, and I'm like, well, here, go get this new animation, it's probably already in the one that you have, so double check it first. But yeah, and then we're going to move on to, I think, the health system, eventually into combat and all that good stuff. Water, too. So, okay, the hunger's ticking down. We should be starving in just a second here. It's going, and we are in the red. So we are starving now. We are hungry, and it recognizes that. So, it'd be great if we could go eat that guy, or, I don't know, mom probably, God knows, and, feel better. But, unfortunately, we do not have that plugged in yet. So, we're going to get it in the next video. We'll plug that in. I fixed his tail kink, so he doesn't look quite as distorted. I'm still working on the model because, my gosh, there's a lot of feedback on it, which is great, I guess. Honestly, I wasn't really planning to go crazy on the model just because it's really just for this tutorial. But yeah, we'll keep working on it. But yeah, so we've got most of the hunger done. After that, we're going to do the health system so that the hunger actually impacts health. After that, we'll probably do... maybe combat. I need to get thirst in there as well, but that should be pretty easy. Interactive water is kind of a weird one, so it'll probably be its own thing. It'll probably be its own video. And yeah, we're eventually gonna get to the environment too. Notice I've got this kind of base environment I made here. This is basically just default Megascan stuff, guys. It's cleaned up and optimized a bit, and we can go over how to do that if you want. If you want, we can do a whole video on the environment stuff too. It's kind of up to you guys. If you want to see that, let me know. If you don't, we'll probably just skip over it. I've built a lot of large open world games, especially with weather effects and all kinds of stuff. I built very large multiplayer games, and there's a lot you can do for the environment. Level design is kind of one of my main things, actually, but that would be a whole series in itself. So anyways, I'm prattling on. I appreciate you guys. Like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff. Show your support if you'd like. Yeah, I will see you guys in the next video. Bye bye.